Fighting for Israel has been a big part of Israel's history. On the freshman 2014 Israel Immersion, we learned a lot about the fighting that paved the way for the establishment of the State of Israel. We were also fortunate to be visiting at the time of year when we celebrate and commemorate these important historical events, such as Yom Ha'atzmaut. In 1948, after a long, difficult war, Israel became a state for the Jews. Sitting outside the gates of the Old City, we learned about the story of Commander Dado Elazar and his soldiers. There were soldiers on duty, and Dado had a plan to get through the entrance to Yerushalayim. Our enemies had blocked off the entrance with rebels, so our army couldn't get through. Dado told the soldiers to hide behind boulders and start shooting at the Arabs on top of the wall so Arabs would be distracted and back off. Meanwhile, Dado would sneak to the rubble by the entrance and drop dynamite so the rubble would clear. After Dado planted the dynamite and it blew up, he knew that the rubble was gone and they could go through. He yelled to the soldiers, "Proceed!" but they didn't answer back. He looked over to the soldiers and saw all of them lying on the ground. He calculated in his head that when the dynamite blew up, it was so loud that the Arabs could have shot at the soldiers without him hearing. Dado went over and saw that his soldiers were in fact not dead, but rather fast asleep. The soldiers were so tired from the non-stop fighting that even the loud explosion of dynamite didn't wake them up. He shook them awake and they successfully advanced into the Old City. In 1948, although Israel was declared a state, we lost access to the Old City, which fell into the hands of the Jordanians. This miraculously changed in 1967 when we got back the Temple Mount, Har HaBayit. As the soldiers reclaimed our holiest sites, they kept repeating expressions such as Har HaBayit Be'adenu and Kol HaKavod. And they sang songs like Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, HaTikva, specifically focusing on meaningful phrases such as Liot Am Chovshi Be'aratzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. There was so much emotion as they got back their city and finally felt free. Fighting for Israel is one of the most important parts of Israel's history. When in Israel, we discussed this matter and learned about many of the people who died to save our country. When Israel became a state, there were huge celebrations which we still celebrate today, like Yom Ha'atzmaut. The victories we experienced were not accomplished without loss. Throughout the years subsequent to the War of Independence, there have also been lives lost in the attempt to defend and regain control of our land. One of these losses, a great soldier, was Roe Klein. He was an Israeli major in the Golani Brigade who died in 2006. He jumped on a grenade to save his fellow soldiers rather than let himself and all of them die. This was the kind of person we mourn for on Yom HaZikaron, which is commemorated the day before Yom Ha'atzmaut. This is intentional. We link these two occasions together because it is better to celebrate than to dwell on our losses. The only reason that Israel is what it is today is because of our collective determination and strength to fight for our country. Even though Israel still has its challenges, it is our effort and motivation, and of course Hashem's help, that allows us to protect and maintain settlement in our holy country.